Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the 7th annual, now, Koch Institute Symposium. It's a pleasure to have you all here to join us for what I'm sure is going to be an extremely exciting day of science and technology. To kick things off, I'd like to introduce MIT's president, Susan Hockfield. Since her very first days on campus, Susan has been a huge supporter of cancer research here at MIT and a major proponent, indeed a guiding force in the development of the new Koch Institute. So it's particularly appropriate that we start today's symposium by hearing a few introductory remarks from Susan Hockfield.
Well, good morning, Tyler. I'm always delighted to be invited to participate in the opening of the symposium. It's been an exciting couple of years for me and very exciting years for what is now the Koch Institute. I would say that every year there's huge anticipation around this symposium because it provides a window each year into the very best in cancer research. This year, with our focus on nanotechnology, I believe will be no exception to that. The roster of speakers is just fantastic. They all represent the frontier of work that draws on both biology and on engineering. We believe, clearly, that this kind of approach holds enormous promise for innovation and for new routes to understanding in biomedicine, certainly, but also across many other disciplines, including green energy. Now, with the program you have ahead, I will try to be brief, but I just want to give you a sense of why I'm so excited about cancer research, which I am, as Tyler indicated, and particularly excited about cancer research at MIT right now. Let me start by noting that we have a different name this year. Notice the symposium, while it's been part of MIT's intellectual fabric for decades, we do have our new name, the Koch Institute for Integrative Cancer Research. It marks an important new chapter in the history of cancer research at MIT. As many of you know, we broke ground for a new building at the beginning of March. It's right now just a big hole in the ground between the Stata Center and the Koch Biology Building. But it will be the new home for the David H. Koch Institute for Integrative Cancer Research. And while that's clearly good news for MIT, it's good news for our cancer biologists and for the engineers who've been making do in crowded laboratories. They've been scattered across campus, and those faculty who will move into the new institute, it's good news for them. But it's also good news for many researchers across MIT who will have access to the core technologies that will sit right at the heart, right in the center of the Koch Institute. But you might ask, why should the rest of us care that yet another new building is going up here? And I think we all should care, because I'm convinced that the Koch Institute, in the design of both the building and the organization, will help define and accelerate a whole new era in cancer research and, frankly, in biomedical research. I believe it's going to germinate and accelerate a new set of approaches to understanding and defeating cancer, and those approaches are going to spread throughout biomedicine. Now, each floor of the new building, each floor of the Koch Institute will have both cancer biologists and engineers, and we believe that they have to be equal partners in our battle against this disease. The labs and offices, for those of you who've seen the floor plans, are going to sit around the perimeter. They're going to circle world-class shared facilities. And we've deliberately included informal gathering places scattered around the building. The building is explicitly designed to help people bump into each other, intellectually, that is. We hope they won't be bumping into one another physically, although I imagine with the growth of this area, we may be bumping into one another physically, too. But the important element is to get people to bump into one another across labs and across disciplines. It's specifically designed to promote the kind of unexpected insights and collaborations that you're going to hear about from the speakers today. The new Koch Institute will continue MIT's contributions to cancer research, which over 35 years have advanced our understanding of the basic science of cancer, have laid the foundations for clinical applications. And I believe that this approach has never been more powerful or more important. Now, during our planning for MIT's next chapter in cancer research, we've had a bit of a chance to reflect on where we've come from. As I looked at the people in the audience, as I entered the auditorium this morning, I was thinking, for many of us, but clearly not for all of us, we can remember really quite vividly the declaration of the war on cancer in 1971. And I say that recognizing that many of you don't remember it because you weren't either born or far enough in school to know that it would matter that the nation was declaring a war on cancer. But in 1971, the war on cancer was declared as an 8-year battle that would cost $100 million. There's a kind of beautiful, naive optimism about it. MIT got into the act. Our Center for Cancer Research was established within 3 years of the announcement of the war on cancer. But as you all know, the war on cancer, the cancer war is not yet won, but much has changed. Now, each of us still knows someone who has died of cancer, but now each of us also knows a cancer survivor. We're still in the war, but we've got new ammunition. And by bringing together biology and technology, we're designing new approaches to detect, to treat, and we hope to prevent cancer. We're also, importantly, educating the next generation of cancer researchers and cancer clinicians. There is a lot of talk everywhere about crossing disciplines, about interdisciplinary research, but at MIT it is truly built into our culture. It's part of our DNA. And, we talk about it, tracing it back to one of the most incredible examples of discipline crossing, which was the Rad Lab. Actually, it's funny now, the Radiation Lab was its full name, and it was set up here at MIT during World War II. The name Radiation Lab was designed to disguise what its purpose was. It wasn't about radiation, but it was about the development of radar. And in this real war that we were in, real physical war, World War II, the Rad Lab brought together the country's very best physicists and very best engineers to develop what became the war-winning technology. And today, we're bringing together extraordinary biologists and engineers to fight the cancer war. It's important to make note of the fact that the work of the Koch Institute draws on the innovative boundary crossing of our relatively new Department of Biological Engineering, itself a kind of crossroads, with a new undergraduate and graduate program. Now, as I travel around the country, speaking to people in government and industry, there are many who doubt the wisdom of continuing to invest to fight as formidable a foe as cancer. But I believe that there's reason to be confident. If you think about what's been accomplished over the last quarter century, we've effectively fought disease before, and I think we can do it again. And I would just offer 2 examples for us to consider as we start the symposium today. The first is heart disease. These are facts that are not generally known in the wider population, but they should be. Over the last 30 years, NIH has invested something on the order of $4 per American per year in cardiac research. The product of that investment has been a reduction in death from heart disease by 63%. It used to be that almost every other day you heard of someone dying of a heart attack. It's pretty rare now. Now, how was that accomplished? It was accomplished by investments in both biology and technology, by producing better drugs and better devices, better diagnosis and better treatment. And we're going to use this strategy, using both biology and technology, to advance our battle against cancer. The second example I would offer is AIDS. Certainly many of you remember that in 1980, HIV/AIDS didn't even have a name. Soon after that, it was projected that every hospital bed in every hospital in America would hold a dying AIDS patient. NIH moved into action with extraordinary vitality, investing $15 billion in research. $15 billion. Well, it sounds like a lot of money, but the NIH now estimates that that investment has saved $1.4 trillion in hospital costs alone. More important, it's transformed AIDS from a death sentence to a chronic, treatable disease, and it's given AIDS patients the possibility of a normal lifespan. It's turned them into survivors. That 100-fold return on investment from the $15 billion investment in research doesn't even begin to count the economic benefit of having these people in the workforce and economically productive. These are two incredibly impressive stories of what intense, sustained research can achieve. And it's profoundly exciting to think what this new era in cancer studies will bring. And I know one thing absolutely for certain. There is only one cure for cancer, and that's research. It's what all of you do. Once again, welcome to MIT. I hope that today's phenomenal program will catalyze many new avenues along the route to conquering cancer, and I can't thank you enough for joining us here on our campus. Have a fabulous day.